In this video, I'm going to use the green dragon from Dragon Quest as a Pokémon in Ruby. This one is gonna be a doozy, because he has some of the worst growth tables in the original Monsters game. His only good stat is HP, which uses table 17 and gains about 6 points per level. His defense of 16 is also passable, but everything else is really bad. His attack of 20 is good enough for the early game, so I've bumped it up a bit. Since I'm using MP as special defense, I couldn't make it stupidly low. So, his base stats as a Pokémon will be 119 HP, 80 attack, 96 defense, 48 special attack, 36 special defense, and 56 speed. These make a total of only 435, which is lower than things like Noctowl. Due to the counterintuitive way growth tables work in the original Dragon Quest Monsters games on GBC, higher index numbers aren't always better. Some indices like 6, 19, and 20 are only good up to level 17, while 12 and 18 maintain a good growth rate from level 17 all the way to 99. His moveset is based on the Dragon Lore skill set from Joker 2 and Terry's Wonderland 3D, which focuses on fire and ice breath skills. I've given him a few moves that can stun or paralyze, like Twister and Headbutt, as stand-ins for War Cry, which can stun all enemies for a turn. As for TMs and HMs, they're mostly the generic moves that most dragon types can learn. Note that I didn't give him Ice Beam, because it's clearly a magical skill, not a breath like Fire Blast and Blizzard. All standard solo run rules apply. I will set up a green dragon with a neutral nature, perfect IVs, and pre-applied EVs. Natures are pointless when I can edit the base stats directly. Max special attack EV is forced, as Dragon, Fire, and Ice are all special in Gen 3, and some special defense is also forced. The rest will go into speed. His typing is obviously Dragon and Fire, since he uses Fire Breath and Flame Slash as a boss. Multiscale didn't exist yet, so Intimidate is the best alternative as an indirect defense buff, although it's not that helpful in a solo run since it only works once. I put him in the 1.64 million experience group just to make the early game grind less painful, and to somewhat make up for his low stats. This group actually levels up the quickest before 35 or so, but it slows down drastically after about 50. The first gym should be a piece of cake thanks to my level advantage. Roxanne's Geodude is an easy one-shot with Powder Snow since it has virtually no special defense. Her Nosepass has much higher special defense and no ice weakness, but it has terrible attack and can hardly do any damage, even though I'm weak to rock. Also, Rock Tomb is treated by the AI as a speed debuff, not a damage-dealing attack. So, it will only be used when I'm faster, regardless of my weaknesses or resistances. She gives the TM for Rock Tomb, but it's terrible in this gen, with only 50 power and 80% accuracy, so I'm not going to learn it. The second gym is also no challenge. I have good HP and defense, and although my attack stats aren't great, I have stab moves to target their lower special defense. As the second boss, the Green Dragon, or just Dragon as he was originally called, really got the blunt end of the stick in the GBC games, with worse growth tables than both Heal Slime and Golem. His attack is decent, but only up to level 17. What he is very useful for is breeding, since he can breed into monsters like Skelegon and Great Saber Cat. The latter is also a boss. Brawly gives the TM for bulk up, but it makes no sense for the dragon to learn it. I have now learned Dragon Rage, which always deals 40 damage. It's great for the early game where most opponents have fewer than 80 or even 40 HP, but it quickly becomes useless later on. The second rival battle could be annoying since his Marshtomp knows Mud Slap and Bide. But it also knows Mud Shot, which the AI will always pick as a speed debuff as long as you're faster. I am weak to it, but I have more than enough HP and defense to tank a few, since it's still physical in this gen. For Watson, I'll have to equip a Cherry Berry, since I doubt Ember is enough to one-shot his Voltorb or Magneton. My Dragon Breath barely missed a one-shot on his Voltorb, and it burned my berry with paralysis from Spark, but I also burned one of his potions. Luckily, my Ember landed a critical on his Magneton. He gives the TM for Shockwave, which I can learn, but I don't think I'll ever need it. By the way, Shockwave always sounded like a ground-type move to me. I sold some unneeded items to get enough money for the Flamethrower TM. I won't use it straight away, but I will definitely need it later, and I might even have to buy another copy. I thought Heatwave was just a copy of Blizzard, but it only has 100 power, so the 5 extra power over Flamethrower certainly isn't worth the accuracy sacrifice, at least not in singles. The first maxi fight is pretty easy. Intimidate doesn't affect me since most of my moves are special, and nothing resists Dragon in these games except Steel, which he doesn't have. No idea why his Camerupt still has Tackle. Surely it would have learned Magnitude by now. I doubly resist fire and have a huge level advantage, so I don't see Flannery being able to do anything. Slugma is just awful, and Torkoal doesn't have good special defense. And everything on her team turned out to be easy one-shots. The critical on her Torkoal probably mattered, but the worst it can do is paralyze me with Body Slam. She gives the Overheat TM, but it isn't a good move for solo runs since it cuts special attack by 2 stages after each use. The normal gym is not much to talk about. Slacking has Truant, so all you have to do is keep attacking. In fact, his second one will always use Focus Punch if you don't resist fighting, because it will do the most damage, so it literally can't do anything if you attack every turn. I based the Dragon's moveset more on his default skills in Joker 2, where the Dragon Lore skill set gets a few Tier 1 techniques, including Boulder Dash, Singe, and Wind Sickles. It's already a terrible skill set that can't do much damage, but they actually nerfed it in Terry's Wonderland 3D, by removing all the techniques in favor of a slash skill that can lower wisdom. There is no equivalent move in Pokémon, since things like Breaking Swipe didn't exist yet. It did also get an HP regen passive skill, but again, there is no equivalent Pokémon ability yet, and Ingrain doesn't make sense. Norman gives the TM for Facade, which is a highly situational move at best. It's basically useless in solo runs, where you wouldn't want to keep a status ailment. I let the Dragon learn Dragon Dance at level 41, because it's probably his only shot at beating the game at a reasonable level. It might still not be enough, due to his lack of physical stab and horrid stats that couldn't afford any attack EVs. I need to outspeed major threats, and I need to survive Dragon moves, which are all special here. The rival at this point is just a joke. He never even gets a fully evolved starter, and his levels are lower than some of the wild Pokémon you can encounter in the area. I'll equip a Persim Berry for Winona's gym, since her Pelipper knows Supersonic. And I might as well learn Overheat too, just to guarantee a one-shot on her Skarmory, which knows Sand Attack. Secret Power isn't even a one-shot on her Swellow after a Dragon Dance. It's 14 levels lower with 60 base defense, so it must have maxed HP or defense EVs. I forgot that Overheat doesn't have perfect accuracy. Well, I never used it in a solo run, due to its harsh penalty and the fact that White Herb is a consumable item. At least I didn't miss on her Pelipper, and it makes the third time in this run I ended a gym battle with a critical hit. The Dragon learns Flame Slash in the original and Wind Sickles in Joker 2, so I made Aerial Ace compatible, but I doubt I'll use it though. Here's the final rival battle, and his only fully evolved Pokémon is a Swellow, which we just fought at the last gym. Sure, they wanted Wally to be your real rival, but come on, at least give him a fully evolved starter. Anyway, Rock Slide is actually the strongest rock move in Gen 3. Stone Edge didn't exist until the next gen, even though it's just a clone of Cross Chop, which was made in Gen 2. Ancient Power might have made more sense on the dragon, but I was too used to it being a special move. I can't fight the Psychic Gym without at least 2 Pokémon, so I just grabbed an HM Mule. And this is where the dragon's abysmal special defense really started to hurt me. I have to equip a Chesto Berry for Hypnosis, and I need to get very lucky with their move selection or Rock Slide stuns. I need the Lunatone to open with Hypnosis instead of Calm Mind, because it can two-shot me with Psychic after a Calm Mind, and I have nothing that can two-shot either of them. This is my first successful attempt, and I only won because I got lucky with the stuns. I won't show any failed attempts here, because you'll see a lot of them later. Calm Mind would help me tremendously, but of course, it makes zero sense on the dragon. Before facing Maxi, I went to the middle of the sea to pick up the return TM. Not sure why they hid it in such a place so late into the game, but I will need it in order to beat the last gym. I won't need a fire move for now, and Overheat is awful anyway. I need to equip a Persim Berry for the second Maxi fight, as his Mightyena likes to confuse you with Swagger, and his Crobat has confused Ray too. I'll just use Dragon Dance until he uses Swagger, which will give me a free attack boost thanks to my Persim Berry. But apparently, the AI always prioritizes speed, so he chooses to use Scary Face instead. No matter, I should already have enough attack to sweep his team. I need a Persim Berry for the Water Gym as well, because everything on Wallace's team knows Water Pulse, which has a 20% chance to confuse. He opens with a Love Disc, and it has some of the worst stats in the game, so it's just a setup fodder. I think this thing only exists for the purpose of farming Heart Scales, which is the item you need to relearn moves in this game. Since I was allowed free setup, his entire team became an easy sweep. But I feel like this is going to be the last battle where I'll have such an easy time. He gives the Water Pulse TM, but the move has long outlived its usefulness by now. It only has 60 power, but unlike other similar moves, it doesn't bypass accuracy check, and of course, Mega Launcher doesn't exist here. After beating Wallace, you can access the deeper parts of Meteor Falls, where the Dragon Claw TM is. Unfortunately, it's special in this gen. I don't know how Fangs and Claws can be magical in these games, but oh well. The Wally battle can be incredibly luck-based because everything on his team can inflict some kind of a status ailment, and his Gardevoir can set up Double Team and Calm Mind. Luckily for me, due to the AI quirk, his lead Altaria will likely use Dragon Dance to try to outspeed me, which makes it a good setup fodder. It can paralyze with Dragon Breath though, and I learned Facade just in case. Well, paralysis didn't happen, so it was another easy win for me. Before challenging the Elite Four, I had to relearn Taunt for Sydney and especially Phoebe. I have nothing that can one-shot her Dusclops, even with a crit, and Curse means GG. I'll use Taunt to force Sydney's lead Mightyena to attack, so I don't have to deal with Sand Attack. The Citrus Berry only heals 30 HP in this gen, not 25%, but it should still buy me an extra turn for setup. Worth noting is that Taunt only lasts for the next 2 moves in Gen 3, and you don't get a message when it expires. Since my special defense is so bad, it seems his Mightyena is just going to attack with Crunch anyway, which means I can't really set up on it. Remember, fangs and claws are magical in Pokémon logic. Rock Slide doesn't even do half to his Sharpedo after Intimidate, and I should have kept the Persim Berry for swagger. But the Citrus Berry ended up saving me in this fight anyway. The crit on his Absol definitely mattered, and I was barely out of KO range of his Shiftry's Fake Out. Not a clean victory, and not a good sign of things to come. I'll hold another Citrus Berry for Phoebe since I need to force her first Dusclops to attack. Its Shadow Punch won't do much after my Intimidate, and its only other attack is Future Sight, which is just terrible before Gen 7, and even then it's only used for the Z skill gimmick. Earthquake is the strongest physical move I can learn, and I still need Rock Slide for Glacia, so I'll have to replace Flamethrower. I bought another copy of the TM in advance. I have to use Taunt every other turn because it only lasts one extra turn in Gen 3, and I might have to fully set up with Dragon Dance before I can one-shot the Dusclops. My attack stat isn't good, and I don't have any EVs in it. But since it can't do much damage to me, this is basically a free win. Speaking of the Dragon's attack stat, it's not that bad in the original Monsters game, which you can usually beat at around level 35 or so. Table 20 gains 118 points by level 17, which is actually the second highest, tied with 6, 19 and 21 to 24, but it tapers off afterwards, although not as quickly as 6 and 19. Unfortunately, since Pokémon games use a fixed formula instead of a lookup table for stat calculation, it's impossible to implement or even simulate staged growth. I'll relearn Flamethrower for Glacia, who has by far the worst team in the league, due to the extremely limited number of ice types in Hoenn. Being part fire nullifies my ice weakness, but my special defense is still dreadful. Her first Glalie likes to set up Light Screen and Hail first, giving me a chance to use Dragon Dance. Come to think of it, Flamethrower isn't useful at all in this fight, since all of her seals are part water type with the thick fat ability, and there's Light Screen. Two Dragon Dances should be enough to one-shot everything except her Walrein, which certainly can't one-shot me back. And I stunned it anyway. Drake is going to be a huge problem. I can't safely set up on his Shelgon due to Rock Tomb and Dragon Claw, and his Altaria can paralyze me with Dragon Breath or set up Dragon Dance of its own. I'm pretty sure his Flygons have Earthquake as well, while being immune to it themselves. I don't even know how to deal with his Salamence. The best I can do is learn Dragon Claw and hope that it's enough to one-shot his Flygons, which I highly doubt. Thanks to the AI setting, I can't even get a speed buff from Dragon Dance without a Rock Tomb miss. I need to outspeed his Flygons and Salamence, so I can only try it against his Altaria. Well, Dragon Claw isn't a one-shot on the Flygon, so I guess this is GG. My only outside hope is for Outrage to be enough. But judging from Dragon Claw's damage, it definitely won't one-shot his Salamence without a crit, since it's at a higher level with much higher base HP, and Outrage only has 90 power in Gen 3. And it can't even one-shot his second Flygon. If only Dragon Claw was physical, like it's supposed to be. I suppose I'll have to gamble with Blizzard. It's not the most reliable move in the game, to put it mildly, but my only other option is to level up until Dragon Claw one-shots both Flygons, and perhaps the Salamence as well. Anyway, the first 3 battles are pretty much free wins, so I'll just speed through them. Flamethrower is useless against Drake, so I'll replace it with Blizzard, and then relearn it via TM for Steven, if I can even get to him. I didn't get great pickup luck this time, and I only got 2 PP ups, and they have to go to Blizzard, just so I can afford to miss twice. I started off lucky with a Rock Tomb miss, getting myself a free speed boost. I don't think Blizzard can one-shot his Altaria due to its high special defense, and I'd rather not waste PP. Rockslide isn't even a one-shot after 2 Dragon Dances, but at least I got a stun, followed by a better damage roll. I landed Blizzard twice in a row on both of his Flygons, and again on his Salamence after a stun from a misclicked Rockslide as I forgot about Intimidate. This is only a 34.3% chance, disregarding the Rockslide, or in other words, I got pretty lucky. I finally got a chance to fight against Steven, and I need to learn both Flamethrower and Earthquake for him. I would like to keep Blizzard for his Claydol, but I need both Dragon Dance and Rest, so there are not enough move slots for it. I'll have to set up as much as I can on his Skarmory, which will likely use Toxic and Spikes. This still leaves me vulnerable to his Claydol, since it has Earthquake while being immune to it, and it will probably open with Light Screen because both of my types are special. Flamethrower doesn't even do half to it before Light Screen, and its Earthquake does well over a third to me even without a critical, not to mention Steven still has multiple potions. So yeah, I can't win this fight without tremendous luck, like 2 crits in a row or a Blizzard freeze. I've tried this battle at least 8 times already, and his Claydol walled me hard. I really don't want to waste any more time on this run, so I'll just give up and resort to using rare candies. I know it's not an exciting way to beat the game, but there's not much else I can do with such mediocre stats. The lack of physical and special split in these games was devastating for me in this run, as I was forced to invest EVs in my terrible special attack, instead of my decent physical attack. It even hurts a lot of real Pokémon, especially the Ghost and Dark types like Gengar and Absol. It wasn't such a big deal in Gens 1 and 2, due to the small selection of moves and the fact that you could max out all 6 stats with stat experience. But you can only max out at most 2 stats from Gen 3 onwards, with capped EVs. This means all Pokémon from Gen 3 onwards are inherently much weaker than those from Gens 1 and 2, almost 250 points weaker at level 100 in fact. It's the main reason for the advanced game's lack of backward compatibility. Anyway, I was obviously able to beat Steven at level 69, but it was still far from a guaranteed win, and I still had to rely on Rest and Chesto Berry. The problem for me was obviously still his Claydol, being immune to my only physical attack. I need Dragon Dance to deal with his Cradley and Armaldo, and I need Rest to heal Toxic, so I can't spare a move slot for Hyper Beam or Blizzard. Oh, and it's genderless too, so I can't even use Attract to Fish for stuns. And as you can see, Flamethrower is only barely a 2-shot on his Claydol before Light Screen. The major difference is that I can now survive 3 Earthquakes, so I can Rest to stall out its PP if I must. His Cradley can also confuse me or get a boost from Ancient Power, and based on the damage from my Earthquake, I don't think his Armaldo is a guaranteed one-shot either. So, there are still many things that can go wrong, even at this level. In conclusion, the Green Dragon really got the short end of the stick even as a Pokémon, due mostly to the aforementioned lack of category split in Gen 3. I'm sure he will do much better in Gen 4 and beyond, but I don't know of any ROM editor for the DS games. If anyone does, please let me know in the comments section. Thanks for watching.